everybody. I'm Dr. Adam Mathews with Mathews Counseling, and all March long, we are talking about loneliness and how to combat loneliness. There is we're reported multiple times about this epidemic of loneliness we are experiencing as a society. And one of our therapists is here to talk a little bit about it, particularly loneliness within committed relationships, which I love this topic a whole lot. And so Laura Bradshaw is with us. She's one of our newest couples therapists and has been talking about on our blog this week is talking about loneliness, but particularly within committed relationships. Laura, talk a little bit about that. Seems counterintuitive that I'm partnered with somebody and but yet that I am feeling lonely. So tell me a little bit about how does that make sense to you? Why do people experience loneliness within a committed relationship?
Yeah, I do think it's counterintuitive. And I think it's easy for us when we even hear the word lonely, we just immediately have this image of someone that's just physically alone, like in a room or,
Yeah.
that doesn't have anyone else around them, which I mean, that can certainly contribute to feelings of loneliness. But I think the way that we experience loneliness in committed relationships is due to the fact that loneliness is really more than just having a physical person next to you.
Mm.
It's not only the physical presence, but it's the sense of not feeling understood, of not feeling seen or heard by your
Yeah.
partner. And so even though, yes, you technically have someone next to you at the end of the day, which is great,
Yeah.
if you're not feeling understood or seen or cared for by them, that can be a really isolating and lonely experience.
Yeah. Not feeling seen, not feeling understood. I think the one I would add to this is overall, those two things mean that you're not connected. You're not feeling that
Mhm.
connection between the two of you, which really promotes that or like amplifies that feeling of loneliness for sure. And I like that distinction too, because we're not talking about being alone. There's a difference between being alone and that feeling of loneliness, right? Why is this a problem? If like when we talk about that feeling of loneliness and it's happening within even committed relationships with somebody present in the room, not feeling understood, not feeling connected, not feeling seen or heard, what are what happens if we just ignore that, or if it just continues for long periods of time?
Yeah, I think if we allow that kind of ache, that sense of loneliness to continue in our
Mm.
relationship, it's certainly not going to do anything to build or restore or cultivate connection between our partner. I think maybe a universal thought or feeling associated with loneliness is I'm alone and I'm the only one that feels this way. And so if we allow that to continue, if we don't acknowledge it in our relationships, one, we experience that ache ourselves, which is a really challenging emotion to experience. But then we don't allow our partner, we don't invite our partner
Mm.
into that, and we don't give them the opportunity to maybe try to meet that need
Yeah.
for connection, whether it's with physical affection, their words, or their time.
Yeah, I think one of the ironies, what you're talking about, is that oftentimes we try to deal with loneliness by ourselves, right? We try to deal
Mhm,
with loneliness alone rather than
mhm,
inviting somebody else into that feeling, that
mhm.
experience, and sharing that with them to do that. I think it also just really damages our relationships, right? And it leads to a lot of deterioration because then my relational satisfaction is going to plummet the more
Mhm,
that I don't address and deal with these really heavy feelings of loneliness as well. So
mhm.
how do you advise your clients, what do we need to do to begin to address it? Like how do we begin to in a real way, because I think we can pour, I don't know if you see this, but I see people trying to get that ache taken care of. I love the way you're describing that as it's an ache, right?
Mhm.
And we try to take care of that through all kinds of different means that we think are going to solve it, right? Through
Yeah.
working harder, like going out and keeping ourselves
Yep.
super busy, through
Yep.
entertainment, through drugs, alcohol, all kinds of different things to try
Mhm.
to make that ache go away. How do we deal with it in a healthy way?
One thing that I will often remind people is that this loneliness that they're feeling is typically there's a need behind that loneliness, right? So there's typically a need for connection, a need for understanding from your partner, and that need is valid. And you are not crazy for feeling that way. You are not burdensome. You are not asking too much. I can sense a hesitation from people sometimes to communicate that need because they feel like it's too much, when in reality they're human. Of course they need connection. Of course that ache is going to be a really challenging emotion to experience. And so I would want to encourage clients that this is a good thing to talk about. This is a good need to recognize, that need for connection, because I mean that's just so foundational to the health of their relationship and the health of just their own well-being.
Yeah.
But then I think I would probably start with just the question of, have you talked about this before with your partner? Have you named this as a loneliness? Have you acknowledged it to yourself and to them, asked them if they feel similarly? Because if we haven't even acknowledged it, that's going to be the first step. And to even just start that conversation with your partner of, hey, I've been feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you feel this way sometimes? Or what do you think about that? And just starting the conversation, starting a dialogue, I think would be the first step if you haven't already done that.
Yeah, and again, that's inviting them in to what
Mm-hmm.
you're experiencing is. So it's naturally vulnerable. And vulnerability we know leads to greater intimacy and greater connection. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think having that ability to acknowledge it and to invite them into it is, and I love what you said too, are they feeling the same way? They may not be feeling the same way, but if they are, then we can recognize that there's a shared experience there that we can work on together. The thing that I think you're also saying, but I want to just say it directly, is that you have to recognize that loneliness for
Yeah.
yourself and you have to name it, because a lot of times I think people come in, they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I have all these things happening and I'm not sure what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. I just know it's a problem. And being able to name it, this is what it is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I am feeling lonely. And I think you talked about some of the markers. I'm feeling misunderstood. I'm feeling not seen or not heard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling disconnected.
Yeah.
Like those type of feelings then go, you know what it is? This is loneliness. And being able to acknowledge that for ourselves, and it can start some of the process toward moving
Mm-hmm.
forward and moving through it. What else do you want people to know? How else can they go about addressing this?
I'm always curious when people bring this up in sessions if they have examples that they can think of. And if they don't, that's okay. But I'm always curious to hear, do you have examples of maybe things that your partner has done or said in the past that did make you feel more understood, that did make you
Mm-hmm.
feel seen? And I think some of what that question is getting at is just the topic of love languages, right? Like, how do you feel seen and loved and heard by your partner?
Yeah.
Can you think of examples where that has happened in the past? Do we have maybe a pattern that we can see here of, oh, it means so much when they do this, oh, it
Mm.
hurts so much when they don't do this?
Yes.
And so that's just, I think, an interesting conversation to have with
Mm.
couples, because it touches on both it touches on the emotional need, but then also just maybe the practicality, like how is that lived out in
Yes.
the relationship?
Yes.
And if they haven't had the conversation of love languages, great, let's have it now and
Oh,
talk about what are the ways specifically that you feel loved. And if you don't know, that's okay, but let's talk through it, let's
yeah.
workshop it together so that you know that for yourself and that your partner can hear it too, and they can
Mm.
think of, okay, what are ways that maybe I can incorporate this knowledge into our day to day.
And I love what you're saying there too, because it's like when I bring something like that, if I'm going to come to my partner and say, "Hey, feel really lonely," being able to say, "Hey, these are the ways that when you do this, I feel less lonely." And I think that we can say that in that initial conversation too. But the other thing that I wish more people did, and that I want to encourage my clients to do too, is like when it happens naturally in the moment of being able to notice, this thing that my partner just did really makes me feel good and makes me feel loved and makes me feel connected, and makes me feel less lonely. To then be able to say, "Hey, this thing, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you did this because it really mattered to me and it really made me feel more connected to you and
Mm-hmm.
less lonely." And when we can say that and give them specific examples, because sometimes I don't know if you experience this too, but sometimes my couples come in and they say, I really need this, but it's very high level, it's very general.
Mm,
It doesn't, it's I'm just not feeling love. And that's important to know,
yeah.
but it's not accompanied by, hey, this is what happens when you do this. And
Hmm.
when we can get there,
Hmm.
typically the other person says, oh yeah, I can do that. Right.
Yeah.
They're much more willing when I can say, this is what makes me feel loved and less alone in our relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if I'm talking with a client who is just struggling to think of examples, then I might encourage them, okay, over this next week, like really try to be in tune with your interactions with each other and
Mm.
to think through, oh, this stood out to me. Oh, this was wonderful. This was hard. If they haven't been paying attention to what makes them feel loved by their partner than trying to turn the dial up of thinking through, okay, this word, this act, this gesture really meant a lot, and then we'll bring that into the next session and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's great because I think it does make a difference. And I think you said it great in your blog post as well that loneliness is not bad in and of itself, right? Like it's
Hmm.
not, we don't have to fear it, but we don't want to leave it, right? We don't
Yes.
want to like just let it alone. And any last pieces with that in mind, like any like kind of last pieces, if there's one thing would want people to know about this, about battling loneliness within committed relationships, what would you say to them? What would you want them to know?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's very much along those same lines of what you just said. I think it's worth paying attention to. It's worth talking about. It's tempting to want to dismiss things as not a big deal. It's tempting to not want to bring it up because what if this is a really hard conversation? But it's important. It's you are like, as if I was speaking to the client, I would want to remind them that your emotional well-being and your level of connection with your partner is really important. That matters. This is worth paying attention to, right? um,
100%.
and so I guess I would want to kind of, yeah, just leave them with that word of encouragement that even though it might be hard to talk about, it's an opportunity, it's an invitation to
Yes.
their partner rather than an accusation, right?
Yes.
It's an invitation to connect that maybe they didn't even
Yeah.
realize, that maybe they just weren't even aware of.
That's right. And I think that's so important too. And it brought up one last thing that I would say as well is that when you're thinking through that, like you're not asking your partner to fix the loneliness, right? I think that's an important distinction. Like we support each other in the healing
Mhm.
of that and in the movement toward that. But it can't be the expectation that my partner is going to forever and always cure my loneliness, right? There are going to still be those emotions that come up, but it is something we want to pay attention to. And is it a pattern and is it a need that we have in a relationship that's not getting met that our partner would happily meet? But I don't think, and I think that's important, kind of to bring it back full circle to what we were talking about in the beginning. It's not that you're going to partner with somebody and you're going to be in a committed relationship and you're going to get married or you're going to move in together and all of a sudden your loneliness is going to go away. I think that's really important, but because it's not that the other person cures it, but it is that we help each other heal and we help address each other's needs
Mhm.
and we support and care for each other in a way that reduces those feelings and makes us feel safe and
Mhm.
understood and connected and seen in a relationship. So,
Mhm.
Laura, thank you so much for your time and thank you
Mhm.
for writing this blog post. If you want to know more, Laura's blog post is now up on our blog, and you can access that at mathewscounseling.net/blog. And if it needs to go further, like let's say this every time we have one of these conversations, but we are, of course, therapists. And so we're going to recommend therapy, especially when that loneliness is persistent or you for some reason or cannot share it in a safe way with your partner or it's not received well or you can't find a way forward. Therapy can really help lay the foundation for that, to give you the tools and the resources and the skills that you need to be able to move your relationship forward. Laura has a few openings left,
Mhm.
two or three openings, I think.
I do, yes. Mhm.
Awesome. And she primarily sees clients out of our Durham office and on telehealth, but we have availability for couples in both our Durham office and our Cary location. And again, you can request an appointment at mathewscounseling.net. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam.